All right. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt. We have another very special episode in store today. Today's guest is Kerie Logan, a celebrated hypnotherapist and personal development coach with nearly 25 years of experience helping people transform their lives. Recognized as Best Coach of the Year in 2004 and voted the top hypnotherapist in her area for 14 consecutive years, she combines intuitive hypnotherapy, coaching, and spiritual guidance to support clients worldwide. A respected author and podcaster, Kerie specializes in consciousness studies and empowering individuals to connect with higher dimensions of awareness, and I'm honored to have her with us today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So, as I like to ask all my guests, talk to me about your early life. Where did you grow up and go to school, and what was your family like?
I grew up in the Bay Area, California, and growing up was, I would say, challenging because I was the only girl and I had an older brother, younger brother. Then when my parents divorced and my dad remarried, I had two more brothers that were younger and older. So I grew up with, you would say, a lot of dudes. And and kind of growing up was why I would say it was challenging being female was I was told a lot of times of, oh, you're a girl, you can't do that. Oh, girls can't do this, girls can't do that. And so it kind of molded me in a lot of areas of who I am to be more courageous and try. What can I do? Instead of just accepting defeat or believing their perception of what a female can achieve or is capable of. And so I take that empowerment and I utilize it for everyone, men and women. I mean, we're way more than what people think we are, even ourselves. We're
Yeah.
more capable.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm looking in your background, you got all your certificates and degrees and achievements. So I bet that was a driving force for your life. And I can relate too. I always feel like an underdog. Like I always got to prove myself and I'm always trying to prove people wrong and stuff like that. So that can definitely be a great driving force for someone's life. So I would like to ask you, so like what led you to explore consciousness and hypnotherapy as a career? Was there a pivotal moment?
The hypnotherapy actually is a interesting story because I wasn't planning on it. I wasn't planning on it at all. And I even created a YouTube channel on my original business that I started was called Empowered Within. And there's a bunch of stuff on there. If you want to learn about hypnotherapy, you can find out. But pretty much the job was handed to me. It was really interesting. And I have to say I've been blessed every step of the way because I believe it's my calling. It's what I was supposed to do. And when it came to channeling, growing up in the Bay Area, I think was a great experience because there is a lot more open-minded people. And my mom left the Catholic Church because it was too much dogma. She couldn't, stand it. And she didn't really feel welcomed in the Christian community. So she got involved with the Inner Peace movement. They're located in Berkeley, California at the time. So she got involved in learning how to do readings, how to work with, higher beings and stuff. And I really admired that about her. And she was exceptionally good at it. She was even in a big, I think, 11 by 17 spread in a newspaper where she did readings for people over the phone. And she was pretty accurate. And I feel that was an ability that I was really intrigued in. I didn't want to do the card readings like she did, but I wanted to use it more in a way of mental health. And the way that the way that people describe me is my nickname's the pinhole of light. So what I do is it's kind of like I take a flashlight and I tell you what I see, I tell you what I hear, I tell you the guidance that I get, and it's zero judgment, and it's designed to get you unstuck and help you really look at yourself and talk about things, because the hard part is a lot of people are afraid to reveal themselves. They're afraid to come out of the closet because of shame or humiliation or guilt or they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of all that stuff. But you can't heal until you look at it. You can't heal until you face what's triggering you and what's going on. And so when you can sit with someone that is compassionate, that has an open heart, that has been there, when you talked about childhood trauma, oh yeah, I've had every form of childhood trauma you could think of. And I spent years and years clearing myself and then learning from those experiences and tools how to support other people. And the most important thing is really listening, is listening to the person and and having that open heart and how can I be of service to you?
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I have some experience with hypnotherapy myself. I think it was like in my early 20s, I fell in love with the law of attraction, right? And so I was, watched The Secret and read different books, and it really opened me up to the just how powerful the mind is, right? And it opened me up to the idea about, how we're all like our subconscious mind specifically really rules our lives, and so if you really want to make changes in your life, you need to dig deep into that subconscious mind, right? And take some things out or plant some new seeds, reprogram things, and that's how you make changes in your life. And so for me, it started with the law of attraction. And let's see what happened. And then yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that happened in my 20s, like, breakups, a lot of trauma, a lot of setbacks, rejections, a car accident, different things. And essentially, I needed to get sober, right? So I got sober. I've been sober almost 3 years now. And I was like, you know what? Like, I need to take it a step further. Like, let me try hypnotherapy. And so I saw this lady named Jada Wagon Summer. She was based in Los Angeles, and I think she moved now to Georgia, I think. And so I was just like, let me try it out, like, let me try it out and see what happens. And I did 4 sessions with her, and after my sessions with her, I immediately started to notice an improvement in my life. And so shout out to her. And so I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing and helping people, overcome their traumas and reprogram their beliefs about themselves and all that. So thank you.
No, it's and thank you for sharing, because you say a lot, because the best way that I describe it to a lot of people, and I'll just use smokers as an example, is consciously they know they should not be smoking.
Yeah.
It is destructive, damaging. Even people that struggle with alcohol, consciously they know, even binge eating, you shouldn't do it. But in your subconscious mind, you've created that habit, that belief, or whatever it is that's tied to it, that I am going to smoke. And you can't help it. And
Hmm.
so what hypnotherapy does, and even meditation or guided imagery, what you're doing is you're slowing down your brainwave patterns to open up the doorway to your subconscious mind. So when you listen to someone talking to you and they say, for example, there's always something better to do than smoke. Just like now, you're nodding your head, going, yes, you are consciously saying, yes, I should not do that. But what happens is your subconscious mind can now hear. So think of it as you got a green light to quit smoking consciously, but you got a red light that's blocking it. Well, when you lower your brainwave patterns and you're listening and you're saying, yes, 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 I want this, the subconscious hears you talking also and is like, yep, I'm going to do this for you. Let me change the programming, the operating system in your mind. So it detaches the negative beliefs and the habits and the patterns. And like you said, seeds, it plants new ones. And that's why I tell people you want to listen to something recorded for at least 28 to 30 days, because that's how long it takes to create a new habit, a new behavior. So each time you listen, you're watering that seed. And then the seed takes roots, and the seed grows and it blooms and blossoms and it creates a whole new you.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. I love it, and to tell you a little bit more about my journey was it was I work in marketing, and it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I was really in a dark place. I didn't realize it, but I was in a dark place. I had some depression and some anxiety, and sometimes I would have to get on these client calls, like they were on Zoom or Google Meet, and I would like stutter my words, or I was like afraid to speak on camera. And so one of the things that I had the hypnotherapist help me out with was confidence on camera. And look at me now, like I'm doing this whole podcast because of, reprogramming my beliefs around that. So it's powerful stuff.
It is powerful stuff, and you can use it for manifesting. You can totally use it for manifesting. I've utilized it with a lot of people where I explained to him how they were stuck in 3D human consciousness, how I'm going to take you up into four, and then I call the sweet spot is the 5D, which is love, joy, bliss, peace, and oneness. And I've had clients just, I mean, I had one woman just recently spend, let's say, I think it was like 500 and something days, a year and a half with her husband trying to get pregnant, doing everything she could think of to get pregnant. And they were so frustrated, IVF, sperm count, all that stuff. And I told her what she was doing wrong, what we were going to do, how we were just going to bulldoze her over the whole past. We're going to create this beautiful womb full of love and happiness. And then you're going to connect to that baby and you're going to talk to it.
Oh,
And you're going to
wow.
do like that process of like Ho'oponopono saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because we made sex a job. We weren't making love. Please forgive me. You want to come in at a higher vibration. I welcome you. And you can come in whenever you want. Well, she listened to that for 30 days and she got pregnant. And now
Wow.
she's probably 18 weeks pregnant, expecting a baby girl in April.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So 580 days compared to 30 days. Which one do you want?
Wow, I love that. That's and so part of my notes here. So you're touching on it. So how do you define 3D, 4D, and 5D consciousness, and what makes each one unique?
So, what it makes it unique is 3D human consciousness is, I would say, the ground floor of survival. It's all about the self, okay? And we all come in at a lot of kids, when you see them, they come in at 4D. A lot of kids do because kids are forgiving, kids are accepting. Kids, we teach kids, sharing is caring. But then we also see kids do the 3D stuff, which is blame shifting, to get out of trouble. He did it, they did it. So, and this has been clinically proven by Dr. David Hawkins. He did the map of human consciousness. And in 2012, I channeled this information when I was writing my first book. And so the lowest frequency thought pattern that nobody on earth likes to feel is shame and humiliation. That vibrates at 20. The next one up is 30, that's guilt and blame. You go up higher, that's despair and hopelessness. You go up even 75 is regret and grief. You move up to 100, which is anxiety and fear. Then there's 125, which is craving and lust, and desire. And a lot of people are like, well, why is desire bad? When it comes to relationships, it's where the person is disposable. It's a superficial relationship. It's like those dating apps. Swipe, I like how you look.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's horrible. It's horrible. Okay. And also in desire, it's where you're never satisfied. It's not good enough. I want more money. No, I want more, more, more. That greed is in there. And then 150 is anger and hate. And then the last one is pride. But the pride is where it's demanding, it's egotistical, it's where you treat people indifference, it's where, vanity lives there. I'm above you. And so all of that is 3D human consciousness. And even lack, having fear of not enough money is coming from lack. So 4D human consciousness is between 200 to 400. And that 200 is courage. Okay, the very first step is the courage to do something different. Speak your truth, find your voice, set healthy boundaries. And it's where you're feasible and flexible. It's not just black and white anymore. There's areas of gray. Then the next step up is neutrality, where you're satisfied and content with life. Okay, you're not telling your story to everyone or complaining all the time or stuck on that hamster wheel of self-doubt. No, you're just content. And you really accept that what is what is. Everything is temporary, nothing is permanent. Up from there It is optimism and hopefulness. It's the willingness to try something different and yourself and all those areas, your self-esteem gets better. It gets better, it improves, you have more self-confidence. Then 350 is acceptance and forgiveness. And all of us want that. All of us want to be accepted. We want to be forgiven. We want someone to show us empathy when we are at our lowest point. And then the next one, 400, is love. And when I say love, I mean unconditional love. And not many people have experienced unconditional love. All right. Now, 5D, I call is the sweet spot. That is still, it's 400 where you've mastered it. Then up above that, actually, love is at 500. Sorry. 400 is reasoning and understanding. Okay. Because all of us want someone to understand us in a way. When we make a mistake, I say it's not a mistake, it's an error in judgment. And instead of looking at something as a problem, look at it as an opportunity to go within it and grow. And so the 5D is love, which is 500, joy and serenity is 540, peace is at 600, that's bliss, and then oneness, enlightenment is 700 to 1,000. So each of them do certain things.
Wow, I love that. That's so detailed and so very well explained. So those numbers that you were listing, are those the frequency that they're
Yes,
at? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and as I go along my journey, it's just like I'm on my spiritual journey, right? And as I go along it, you start learning about the chakras and all that, and it's all related, right? So
yes,
I'd like to ask you, so let's talk about the 3D a little bit more, because I feel like that's where most people are kind of operating at,
yeah.
So can you talk to the listeners a little bit more about that, and how does that 3D consciousness really play out in their everyday lives?
Well, let's talk about money. You can talk about money there. A lot of people complain, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. And the economy really sucks right now. And everywhere, wherever you live, people are struggling with money. And I tell people, when it comes to that, you got to kind of look at it differently. One, you got to stop complaining. Two, when you get your money, be grateful. Show your appreciation for the money that you have. If you have a paycheck that comes in every 2 weeks, that's guaranteed income. There are some people out there that don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Okay, some people are self-employed. Some people, have to drive for a living, so they live off of tips. They live off of that. And I would say it really is your mindset. Because if you're going to think, well, I'm going to really struggle this week, or it's just going to be a sucky week, well, you're putting out there, our thoughts create our reality. And I know a lot of people are like, no, it doesn't, but it does. It's like, what side of the bed do you want to wake up on? And we've all had that experience. When we wake up on the wrong side of the bed, we usually do have a crappy day. So setting your intention is I think the most important thing, and putting out there what it is you do want to manifest.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's something that I still need to work on. Yeah, it's something that I got to work on some more because I do find myself complaining sometimes about money. I think we all do it sometimes, right? It's like complaining, or it's that state of lack, right? And
Right.
something that I've done, I've gotten a lot better at lately is just, yeah, like you said, showing gratitude. So like, I just go out in nature and like, even if I have these negative thoughts and stuff like that, I try to spend more time in nature and I look at the sky and I'm thankful for another day. Just try and be thankful for the little things. And I think that's a great way to start for people, right? Just being thankful for the little things.
It is. Well, a great analogy someone told me is I was disappointed because I didn't have shoes until I met a man that didn't have feet.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Because,
very,
I mean, like the hurricane that happened, I have a friend over there that's helping out. The water is toxic. They can't drink any of the water because it was near some like radioactive plant. And a lot of
mm,
people take clean water for granted.
yep.
They lost all their possessions. Their home was destroyed. They can't move back in. All the flood water is polluted. They have to throw all their property away, all their personal property, a lot of it away. It's hard to salvage. And imagine how devastating that is. So here's a good example. My friend that I just mentioned, we gave him a space heater to take with him, one of those camping space heaters, brand new. Take it with you. He sent me a Facebook message saying, I gave the heater to this grandmother who lost her daughter in the flood and is now has no power, no electricity, and is taking care of her 6-month-old granddaughter and her 5-year-old grandson. Yeah, imagine that hardship taking care of those two little babies, having no heating, no electricity, no clean water. She was like, thank you so much for this blessing. And it's like, no, that's you pass it on. You do something good for someone.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that so much. And yeah, that's actually something that I've done lately. It's like I remember it kickstarted for me. I think it was like a couple of years ago. Like I was kind of feeling down and it was my birthday. And I always get down around my birthday. And I remember like I was alone on my birthday and I was just like feeling down, like no one appreciates me and stuff like that. Like no one's throwing me a party, and stuff like that. And you see all these people who have these big birthdays and all that. And I was feeling down, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get out of this mindset. I'm gonna go find a homeless person and I'm gonna go feed him. And I remember 2 years ago, like on my birthday, it was like I was feeling down, and I knew that there was this homeless guy that lives by me, and it was like I went over to him and I stopped him, and I was like, "Hey, like, are you hungry?" And he was like, "Yeah." There was a Carl's Jr. There was a Carl's Jr. nearby, and I remember he was very specific about what he wanted to. He was like, "Oh, I'll get a famous star and an orange soda." And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll bring you that back." And so I brought him that meal, and it changed my outlook that day. Like I went from feeling, down about my birthday and all that, and just helping someone else out, it made me feel so much better. And so that's what you were talking about with the 4D, right? So like 3D
Yes,
is kind of like self-serving, and then you get into the 4D is kind of being more
yes,
selfless and helping others. Can we talk more about the 4D?
yes. Exactly what you did was I call you're being of service to yourself and another living human being because you were in that negative mindset that was wreaking havoc on your life. It's kind of like that inner critic was criticizing you and making you feel even worse. And so you jumped up to courage, which is the very first step to step out of that mindset. And what you gave that person was a gift. You accepted him. You didn't judge him. You didn't, like, oh, and that's what a 3D person would do. They would literally cringe. They wouldn't walk over and talk to the person. He's below you. But you did something that was beautiful where you embraced him. I mean, I'm not saying you hugged him or anything, but you embraced him as a human being who was in need of humanity, a need of being seen. Because a lot of those people, they just walk right by him. They don't even notice them. They ignore them.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, what you did was all those things. You showed him empathy, you showed him compassion. You had a conversation with him and he totally it just you made that man's day.
Yeah,
And you don't even know how what his state of mind was. He could have been super depressed. He could have been like thinking, I'm jonesing for my next drink or to have drugs, but
yeah.
you could have actually prevented him from doing some self-harm to himself, which
Oh
is
yeah.
even more of a gift.
Yeah, that's definitely very true. So what about the leap to 5D consciousness? How does 5D differ from 3D and 4D?
5D is where you can use it for manifesting, but I tell a lot of people is it really is just a state of consciousness and you can line up to it anytime you want, 24/7. It is there. But you need to do something and find something that's going to support you to get there. So it could be doing meditation, it could be listening to hypnotherapy. For me, it could be going out dancing with some girlfriends and just having fun. It could be going to a comedy club because you love laughter, you're full of joy, you're in a peaceful, hopefully, environment, and you have this oneness with all these people where you're all laughing together. You're all having fun together. And so that's just a good way to, display that as well.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. Something that I just thought about right now too that I wanted to bring up was, you know, when I was talking about how I get down around my birthday and all that. There's this musician I follow on Instagram. His name is Mike Posner. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but I saw something that he shared that I really like what he said. It was like we have to stop keeping score. I find myself like always keeping score. Like, oh, did this person wish me a happy birthday, or did this person appreciate me? This one did. This one didn't. It's like we all do that, right? Like we have to stop keeping score, and instead, you know what? Like if you feel like you're lacking in some way, go find someone else that is lacking and go help them out. Go give them that thing that you feel like you deserve, right? So I
Right.
really I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it's true. So, like the same example, I was sad I didn't have these shoes until I met a man that didn't have feet.
Yeah.
Changes your whole perspective, your whole
Yeah.
outlook. And yeah, you shouldn't keep score because then it's it's not unconditional. No, nobody likes to have conditions placed
Yeah.
upon them. None of us do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's very true. It's just everything is perspective, right? So,
Yes, it
I,
is.
so I'd like to ask you, like the role of hypnotherapy in ascension. How does hypnotherapy support the journey to 5D?
How it supports it is it helps remove the roadblocks and obstacles as well as healing that inner child wounds. So, a good example I gave people if you grew up in, I'll give you an example of how you know what home you grew up in, 4D or 3D. So, if you grew up, let's say you see a little girl running around, and let's say me as a little girl running around, and I hit the coffee table, and my mom's favorite vase with flowers falls on the floor and shatters. I start crying. Mommy comes over. If it is a 4D conscious mom, she will rise up out of anger and have the courage to calm down. She'll get grounded, centered, and balanced. She'll get down on knee level, look me in the eyes, and say, Sweetie, you know the rules. We shouldn't be running in the house, and, accidents happen, and I forgive you. I love you. And that's why we have this rule in this house. And yes, we need to replace the vase. It might come out of some allowance of yours, but this is why we have these rules. And I just want to make sure you're safe. Mommy's going to clean it up, but everything's going to be okay. If you grow up in a 3D home, your parent does not get out of anger. They stay in anger. They might shame parent you. They might spank you. But the problem that happens with the child is the child doesn't have the coping skills as an adult. So they spiral down into self doubt. I'm not good enough. I'm unimportant. My opinion doesn't matter. Um, I'm unlovable. All those core wounds happen. And so that's how hypnotherapy really helps is it allows you to go inside and have a conversation with that wounded part of you and to heal it. And then what I like to do is I give it a new job. Let's join the main personality again and what it is you want to do in the future. So you're not separate, you're whole. Because a lot of people, when they're stuck in self sabotage, they have broken parts inside of them. And um, it's called internal family systems is a new approach, but I was trained in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and that's all about parts therapy. And so that's how hypnotherapy really works with a lot of people is your think of it as your mind is full of weeds and all those seeds, weed seeds that were planted in your mind, you're just going to pluck them all out and you're going to plant the positive seeds that you want.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great analogy. So I feel like the main focus of this work is like what you're talking about, right? It's about shifting mindsets. So earlier you were talking about how, a lot of people have this mindset and this perspective and this belief about having a lack of money. So are there other common, mindset shifts or beliefs that help people move into higher levels of consciousness? Are there some other common examples other than money?
Oh yeah. So wait. Wait. A lot of people are stuck in, I have to look this way. I have to appear this way. And we are so harsh on ourselves, especially appearance, because there's AI generated perfect looking people nowadays. There's filters to take out our lines or wrinkles or all that stuff. And I tell people if someone's going to love you, they're going to love that little dimple on your butt that you hate so much. They're going to love it. They're going to think it's cute. They don't care. They really don't care. And so when it comes to your body, I mean, he actually, even Joe Dispenza tells it perfectly, where when we're thinking those negative thoughts about us, oh, I hate my thighs, I hate my stomach, I hate my boobs, whatever it is, you're creating these toxic cells that are destroying the healthy cells in your body. And a lot of women, when they finally make peace with their body and they're no longer fighting it or hating it or disgusted with it, they just are content and satisfied. That's up in 4D. You make peace with your body, their whole body shifts. Their weight maintains.
Mm.
They are making healthier food choices just because they want to feel better about what they want to eat. They're not eating to stuff down their feelings or looking for an outside source of comfort. They're making peace with everything. They're friendly with food. They're friendly with beverages. They're appreciating their body, and they're realizing that whoever is in my life is going to love me for who I am. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, what about in addition to hypnosis, what are some tools or daily practices that you can recommend to some of the people to help cultivate self-awareness and those higher states of consciousness?
Well, whenever you get triggered, you want to make a note of it. And you want to go in and you want to ask yourself, was it internally or externally? So, internal is the thoughts we think about ourselves. And if it is internal, figure out, is that really my voice? Or was it my dad's voice? Or my mom's voice? Or my grandma's voice? You know, whose voice is it? And then if it's external, it could be situational. Well, this person always creates drama and this scenario. So maybe in that sense, you need to find your voice and set healthy boundaries.
Um, so how would you say hypnosis, how does it facilitate emotional healing?
Oh gosh, it's amazing work because it gets in, think about it as you're doing a deep clean on your operating system in your computer. Okay. It really is just cleaning all the garbage, all the trash. You got to empty your recycle bin. Is really what it is. That's kind of the way I look at it is you're just getting rid of all those limiting beliefs, the things that aren't serving you, the things that are holding you back in your life and that are preventing you from really being happy.
Yeah. I'm curious, have you done hypnotherapy on yourself?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so talk to us about some of your programs and the services and how people can get involved.
So I offer one-on-one when it comes to master the upper rooms. I do the coaching. I also do channeling for some people, and I do readings if people want to know certain information. And I'm pretty spot on about it, and it dives pretty deep. The best way to describe it is one person said, I thought I was coming in for like this cup of coffee conversation, and you in 10 minutes you dove me in the ocean. You know, it's just like, where'd this conversation go? But I really focus on getting you unstuck and doing it in a quick way to where you don't have to keep coming back for session after session after session. And I do offer custom recordings. So if I do a coaching session or channeling session with you, I will incorporate a recording that I do ask the person listen to for 30 days because I want you to reprogram your brain. I want you to rewire it. I don't want it just to be on the conscious level. I want it to get back there.
Awesome. I love that. So, talk to us some more about channeling. So, when did that start and how's that journey been?
That's been really interesting. I've been channeling longer than I even knew what I was doing, is a better way to put it. And a lot of times people would say, you know, well, how do you know that? And I would just say, that's just what I hear, or
Ah,
that's what I see. So you might find this to be a hilarious one, but there was one time I was working with this lady about her son. And I started laughing and I'm like, and she's like, "Ooh, you got a juicy one. What was it?" And I said, "Well, I don't know if I'm comfortable about sharing this because what I'm seeing is rather awkward." She's like, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you because you're asking me. But what they're showing me and saying to me is your son needs to grow a big pair of brass balls because the girlfriend he's with is just railroading him
Uh,
and he's struggling." And she starts laughing so hard where she said, just a few days ago, I told him he needed to grow a pair."
oh, wow.
But how would I know that?
Yeah. So you said, so you're hearing things or do you see things or,
I'll it's like my voice in my head.
yeah.
And it talks to me and I've learned to distinguish between I've learned to quiet my mind and
Mm.
listen to the guidance that I get. Sometimes so like with the brass balls, they literally showed me a big pair of brass balls and I was like, this is weird. Why am I seeing that? Um I can it varies. Like I was doing a channeling for a woman just recently, and she channels as well. And I told she had a sore throat, and her guides told her they were clearing stuff from her throat. And I
Mhm.
said, actually, they are. And I said, this is really uncomfortable, but I keep hearing the word chokehold, chokehold, chokehold. And I see someone in a chokehold. And she said, oh my God, I was in a chokehold for 9 days when she was younger. Yeah.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, how would I know that?
Yeah.
How would I know that? But they knew that. And so, like, even just last week, you'll get a kick at this. My husband walks in the door, and my guides tell me, oh, he got his hair cut. And my husband was wearing a ball hat, looked like just like you, a hat. And I look over him like, did you just get your hair cut? And he's like, don't leave in 5 seconds. I just walked in the door. Why do you do that?
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I feel like I have a little bit of these abilities sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I can just, I don't know if it's just like knowing, like just knowing things, right? Just like
Yes.
reading people. I don't know if it's like I'm
Yes.
reading the person, but I just know things, like, and I think we all have these abilities to some
Yes, we
extent, right?
do.
Yeah.
It's not just me. A lot of people do. It's like when someone gets in a fight, an argument, you walk in the room, you can feel the energy.
Yeah.
And well, and even I tell people, our intuition talks to us, our higher self all the time. So let's say you're in a fight with someone and you're about to say something so mean and so harsh. And that voice comes in and says, if you say that, the relationship will never be the same again. Do you listen or do you not?
Yeah.
That's your higher self talking to you.
Uh yeah. Yeah. We definitely all have these abilities to some extent. So I'd like to ask you, so what kind of advice do you have for the people to hone in on those abilities?
Learn to distinguish the voice. And when you get it, you want to say thank you. Okay? You really do because you're acknowledging its presence, and you want to work with it. And so when you get a hit or guidance, go off it. If a lot of times when I get guidance, like even with this, master the upper rooms, when I learn that technique, I was guided, go online. There's science that backs it. And so I did. I did the research and I was like, holy cow, there really is science that backs this. So it was like spirituality and science combining together. And just go with what you're hit. Like if you have this intuitive thought, I need to start looking for another job. Listen to that voice. You hate your job. It's telling you it's time to look for another job. Then do it and say thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I've always labeled myself as, someone who's intuitive. So definitely listening to that inner voice. So I'd like to ask you, so like what are some of the challenges that you notice that people are facing as they try to move into these higher states of consciousness?
Oh, the biggest challenge I think a lot of people face is family, friends, society, and culture. Those are the biggest ones because people know you and they don't like, some people don't like change. They don't like it when you set healthy boundaries, especially toxic families. They don't like it when you speak your truth. And you have to be able to believe in yourself and love yourself enough to do what's best for you because this is your life. It's not their life, it's your life. And a lot of people get stuck in that concept of, well, my parents will reject me if I do this. My parents will disown me if I do that. And to me, that's not love. That's conditional love. It's not unconditional. And being able to find a way, I have an ebook, a free ebook on Master the Upper Room's website about communicating with difficult people. I talk about the sandwich approach, and it really, really works. And I tell people, write it out what you want to say. And it's just like anything, you're learning to develop a muscle. It's a new skill, it's a new ability. And don't give up. The first, like any exercise routine, they say the first 2 weeks is the hardest. Well, raising yourself up from that 3D into 4D, you need courage. You need courage every day, and just take every day as a new opportunity to try something different and master those tools of today I'm going to be courageous and become self-aware. That's the really big key too, is be mindful and self-aware and be an observer of life. You'll learn a lot about people and about yourself, and just become that presence of peace, not just for you, but for everyone around you. And eventually, those people will either accept you or they won't. And that's okay. You can still be kind and gracious and all of that, but they don't need to be in your inner circle anymore. You know how to set limits.
Mm, I love that. So what is that sandwich method?
The sandwich is the bread is the positive, the middle is the issue, the bottom is the positive as well. And you never say you statements unless it's a positive or and you never say but because but erases.
Ah,
So it'd be like me saying, I love you, but I hate it when you leave your
yeah,
dirty socks underneath the table.
yeah.
They're not going to hear the I love you. They're going to hear what you don't like. And if you have to use a you statement, it's better to say we or us. So it shows connection. Like, I want us to have a better relationship. Instead of saying you need
Yeah.
to have a better relationship with me, it's no, I want us to have a better relationship. And you say how you feel. I'm feeling frustrated and confused, and I love you. And our relationship, and that's why I said I love you. And our relationship is important to me. I know it's important. I hope, and I know it's important to us. And it's finding ways to communicate so the
Mm.
person will hear you instead of being defensive and being reactive. You want them to be able to respond, not react.
Yeah, I love that. It's so powerful. Just these little subtle switches in the way you word things, how
Yeah,
powerful communication can land on that person if you say it this way versus the other way. I was actually a resident advisor in college, and I remember actually you're refreshing my memory. They taught us about that actually about just instead of saying but use and or like
yeah.
say and yeah. Okay, so I'd like to ask you, let's talk about emotional attachments. How do attachments to 3D aspects like materialism and ego, how does that hinder one's spiritual growth?
Well, as you know, when we die, we can't take the stuff with us. And a lot of people feel threatened if someone's going to take it or destroy it or steal it from them. And that's all fear based. And it's realizing that you can be happy with less. You really can. You don't need those designer shoes or that designer bag, or, you don't need all that stuff. I mean, and that's the biggest thing when you think about money, as we were talking about earlier. Well, do you really need all those streaming channels? Kind of thing. Like, where do you look at what you're spending your money on? Is it making you happy? Is it giving you joy, or is it bringing you down? Like one woman, for example, with her credit cards, she was so upset. She had huge amount of debt. And I said, Well, you should be thankful those credit card companies trusted you and they allowed you to take that vacation and buy the washer and dryer. They gave you all these things, which is great. You're just mad that you have to pay it off. And it was a whole mindset. It's like, no, figure out which one you can pay off faster and then just cut it up, get rid of it. And you can keep one. You don't need five credit cards. Pick out the one that gives you the less interest rate, but be thankful you qualified for that credit card, that they trusted you, that they allowed you borrow their money to do the things you wanted to do. That was a gift. That was a blessing.
Yeah, I love that. It's human beings. We have this nature of just being negative, right? And just we make life so hard for ourselves. It's like just these little subtle shifts, how profound that can be on your outlook on life, right?
Right. No, it
Okay, so
can't because I worked with one guy around the money too, and he grew up in a lot of poverty, but he was making like $6,000 a month, but spending it on, oh my God, he for his niece's birthday, he flew her to Las Vegas to see Usher in concert, and I'm like, dude, I couldn't even do that. You know, I
yeah,
wouldn't even do that.
yeah,
Why does everything have to be over the top? The best Yeti cooler, the best, best high-end barbecue. No, you're creating your debt. You
yeah,
don't need all that stuff. And that's all 3D mentality, materialism. It's greed.
yeah.
You want to impress other people.
Oh yeah,
And he literally admitted that the thrill knowing he could do it was more exciting than actually being there.
yeah.
And I was like, that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a quote. I'm sure you've heard of it. How does it go? It's like we buy things with money we don't have to try to impress people that we don't even like or something like that. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of people in this world, right? So I think, yeah, we all should try to, live below our means. You start to make more money and then you start spending more money and then
Right.
the cycle continues. Yeah.
Right. And not many people save or they think, well, I have the money now, I should buy this. And
Yeah.
it's like, but do you really need it? Is it going to improve the quality of your life? Like, what is it going to do for you? If it's just going to sit there on your desk as an object, well, it sits there on your desk.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what advice would you offer to someone who's just beginning their journey into self-discovery and consciousness exploration?
I would tell people to master baseline, and baseline is courage and neutrality. Just master that for 30 days around every subject of money, relationships, your career, your job, your friendships, your family, your community, society, religion, politics, all of that. I mean, you're in the States, right? Yeah, there's too much fear mongering right now around politics
Oh
and
yeah.
everything is black and white. No, step out of that. Rise above it. If you, it's that, oh, that was juicy. It's that saying when we were kids, if you can't say something nice, then don't say anything at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Words to live by, right? So,
Yeah.
kind of closing it out here. So, what do you envision for the future of your work and what are some of your future goals and aspirations?
Well, my future goal is to hopefully, if in this lifetime, where everyone rises up to at least 40 human consciousness because there wouldn't be war. There would be enough for everybody. There wouldn't be starvation or homelessness or all there wouldn't be a lot of the things we see right now because we literally are having a mental health crisis all over the globe. All over the globe. And if more people had compassion and cooperation and empathy and kindness, just like with you, I'm going to find someone that has less than me and I'm going to do something. We would be in such a beautiful, beautiful world. And I would love
Mm,
for humanity to one day achieve that, where it's not my way or the highway
yeah.
or that black and white thinking. No, I'd really love for everyone to just rise above it and be the best version of themselves and live a life of joy and happiness. Everyone wants that. Why don't we can have it?
I love that, and I can hear the passion in your voice. So, thank you for the work that you're doing. And so, I like to close it out on a high note. Can you send the listeners out there just a final message of love and healing, especially for the ones who might be struggling out there?
Well, one, just remember your situation is temporary. As hard as it is and as possible as it can seem and as dark as a hole you're in, because I've been in those pits before, you got to take one day at a time. Even if you cry every day, you still made it through that day. Because there was a period in my life where I was crying every day. It was just the worst experience. But I knew it was temporary and I had to not think about what was dragging me down. I had to find things that gave me joy and redirected me, and I listened to things that kept me positive. And I did hypnotherapy on myself. I listened to audiobooks. I watched more comedies on TV instead of stuff that was all fearful or gore.
Yeah.
And I changed my whole routine and perspective, and and even journaling is great. Like every night, just sit down and write 10 things that you can hopefully appreciate about your day. And it could be even something small.
Mm.
You know, your
Yeah.
your animal was affectionate with you today. You had a good laugh today. You
Hmm.
watched a great movie. You had a delicious meal. You
Yeah.
know, there's lots of things.
Yeah, it's all about gratitude and like I said, appreciating the small things and something that you talked about there. Like I came across another quote recently where it was basically what it say was is like, neither good times or bad times last forever.
Yeah.
So the good times, they don't last forever. So appreciate the good times. And the bad times, they don't last forever either. So just write it out and the good times will be here before you know it. So yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we get stuck in that negative mindset, we can just stay stuck in that pit. It's
Yeah.
like an image I remember seeing of someone look standing on all these ladders, looking over the edge, where all he had to do was take one ladder and prop it up.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of closing it out here. So yeah. So thank you so much, Kerie, for meeting with me today. Thank you for providing such great wisdom and insights on this episode. I also want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So Kerie, please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
Okay. So you can find me at Master the Upper Rooms. That's the website. I have a podcast on that, a blog post. You can find me on there, and there's lots of free material. If you want the image for how to teach yourself how to master the upper rooms, print it out. You can use it with your coworkers. You can use it with employees. You can use it with your family. I use it with all types of people, and it works great. You just figure out, even for yourself, where's your vibrational set point based on that specific subject, and look at it. How can I have more courage and permitting myself to look at this differently? You know, yeah, there's lots of things. There's lots of free stuff on there, even free audios.
Awesome. So you said empoweredwithin.com.
No, it's well, you can go to empoweredwithin.com, or my main one is Master the Upper Rooms.
Okay. So I'll add those to the video.
Yep.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, and you have a fantastic day.
Thank
Thank
you. You
you.
too. Bye.